sometimes I provide people a masking guide and I show them where to apply the masking. I say, do this before class because it's going to be time intensive, take some time, so do it before class. But for this workshop, I'm going to do it in class. I haven't applied any masking to anything. We're going to do it together. I'm going to make mine this color, I guess. And it's going to get lighter and lighter and lighter as it moves down. All right, sky is done. And I'm going to take a tissue. The only place I don't want blooms are in my sky. It's the only place. Anywhere else, I don't mind blooms. Try to create them, in fact. But in my sky, I'd rather not have water being collecting and greater moisture following less moisture and being whipped onto my sky and pushing at the pigment and creating that blossom. So I wipe the board and I wipe the paper, and now I should be pretty safe. Okie doke. All right, we're almost done tinting the paper. I don't want any water on these either, right? Because that'll get whipped onto my paper and create blossoms and blooms. There we go. Now, into the tree area, if you want some tree colors, we could put in some tree colors. But you don't want it coming up into your sky. This is all going to be some trees over here. Okay. And it could be some other colors in there too if you want. It doesn't matter. There we go. Got some tree colors. Again, just tinting the paper. I'm going to move to a smaller brush now because I'm going to be carving around things, and I just feel more comfortable with the small brush. But I move pretty good. Move at a pretty good clip with it. All right, got my two brushes. Just some clean water, carving around the white rock, and then leaving some white along the shore. And if you want to leave some white rocks on the shore, I drew those in so you could paint around those if you want. And oops, I should have left a little sliver of white like I do here. That'd be nice to leave a little sliver. A few places. Now these rocks over here, I'm just going to paint around, leave them bright white. This all is going to be painted later, so I don't have to worry. Just like up here, it's all going to be painted later. I'm going to just drag my brush across some of this so it's not, maybe they're not all bright white. Maybe I'll drag it across this one, and a little bit of this one. There. That's all. And, oops, oh, that's not good. Got a big glob of paint on my patch of white here. There we go, got rid of it. Okay, so if you want to tint these rocks a little bit, because they're not bright white, whatever color you want your rocks, I'll put some reds.
David?
Yes.
Doing the toning of that part, did you wet the paper first, or?
Yeah, I wet everything that wasn't white.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I don't know where I was.
Sure, yeah, no worries.
I missed a couple comments.
Yeah. I pretty much, when I did wet everything that wasn't white, I stayed. You can see where the paint kind of went like this and went like this. You can see where it's dry because it gives me some hard edges. So I stayed away from the pencil line because it's hard when you just use clean water to see where you're wetting, right? And if you happen to bring the water into something you want white, well then of course when you paint there, right here, it'll leak into an area you wanted white. So I'm always erring on the side of caution when I'm pre-wetting. Now I'm talking about these rocks here, and if we look at the picture, this rock actually is not all white. It's got some color on it. So I just using the side of my brush and dry brushing across it with some variety of colors. We've got some blues and some reds. And this one actually is all white, but it's got a shadow side right here. We can, if you want to tone that, just to remind yourself that it's got a shadow side, you can do that. And then this guy, he's got a bunch of color on him as well. So I'll just run, and the reflection would have the same color. So I'll just do that. You know what I'll do too, just to be fancy, is I'll put a little like crack right there and like right there, and then it reflects, and maybe a little dark spot and a dark spot in the reflection, just to emphasize the reflection. It's kind of fun. Give it a little dark area. I'll do the same thing on this side, a couple of little dark areas that reflect in the reflection. Okay, that's it. I'm done with this side. Now I'm just going to tone the paper. Now this is the fun part. When we tone the paper, we're not going to do it in gray, right? We're going to do a variety of colors. And the colors I'm going to use are cobalt teal, quin gold, alizarin crimson. All right? So you just go ahead and watch me, and then just remember this painting is practice for the next time you do this painting, because we're going to make all kinds of mistakes, okay? And just have fun with it, do the best you can, but it might not go perfectly, the first time you try it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is get it really wet. I'm not painting the reflection, I'm just painting this graded wash of blue, gold, and alizarin crimson. So I'm pre-wetting it. All right, I tilt it at like a 45-degree angle, let it run. And now I'm going to get those colors. And what was the first color? I said, I'm going to get a bigger brush. I said cobalt teal. Okay, cobalt teal. Consistency of like skim milk. I'm going to start down here because I'm looking at the picture, and in the picture this is really white up there. So I'm going to start way down here, like at the top of this rock, and go straight across. All right? And now I'm going to clean my brush, and I'm going to bring that up, and I want it to get lighter and lighter and lighter. I want it to disappear in the patch of white. So here it goes. It's getting lighter and lighter and lighter, and gravity is helping me keep it light as it moves up the paper. It's getting lighter and lighter and lighter. I'm going to clean my brush and do that again. All right, there's my blue. Look at it's got white to very faint blue to darker blue as it moves down. Okay, now that was a little strong there. Now I'm going to get some quin gold, and I'm going to go under the blue, and I'm going to bring that into the blue. And look at that beautiful green color. Okay. And then underneath that, I'm going to do alizarin crimson.
I hope you're enjoying this lesson. I'd like to take this opportunity to invite everyone who wants to improve their painting skills to my free masterclass, where I'll share even more watercolor painting hacks. Click the link in the video description to register for free. See you there soon.
Bring that up into the gold. And I'm err on the side of light. All right, and we don't want it to be stripy like this. So I'm going to mist it. Got a little misting bottle or spray it. And then you can spin it around and let those colors integrate a bit. Let's spin it upside down. Let them run this way. See how that's kind of moving down. You can see it just running, but I want to keep this really white, right? So I let it run in a little bit, and then I spin it the other direction. I'm still a little bit stripy. I can break that up later, or we can do it now. And then I'll spin it this way. I got the board tilted like 20 degrees, and maybe I'll kind of squirrel that up a bit. I'm gonna get some more gold. Bring the gold up and try and scrub that line so it's not so stripy. Integrate those a bit, okay? And I'll do the same thing with the red. I'll just, don't want to get too dark here. Bring the red up into the gold. And scrub them together. There we go. And then maybe I can mist it again. I don't mind it being nice and light. Now, is this white? I'd say actually it is white. Is it white here? No, now it's kind of a light blue, light bluish green, kind of a green, kind of greeny gold. You know, it's just a great transition of colors. I just sprayed it with my big spray bottle, get things moving. Running it, got it vertical, got it horizontal. Running it, got it, holding it vertical. When you get yellow, red, and blue together, sometimes you get some mud. But I think we're looking pretty good. Still a little stripy, that's all right. We're gonna break it up with rocks and things. What do you think? I think it looks pretty good. Patch of white, patch of white. All right, while things are wet, I'm gonna put in those distant trees. All right, I got it all wet. I'm tilting it, keeping it wet, keeping it wet, keeping it wet. And now let's grab some blue, coffee consistency. Let's drop that in there. Let's let it run. Hopefully run. If I kept everything wet. All the way into the reflection. Let's run this over here. Small rocks over here, lots of small rocks. And I'm constantly tilting it to try and keep things wet. I want things that link and connect. I want the colors that link and connect. Now I'm going to grab some golds. Dropping that in. Let that run. Drop in some water. I'm going to pick it up. tilt it this way, tilt it this way, tilt it upside down, tilt it back, tilting at like a 40-degree angle towards me, carving around those rocks that I drew, moving the bead down. There's a lot of little rocks in there. Break it up a little bit. Let's put a mat on it and see what we got. All right, another one down. All right, I think it looks pretty sharp. I'm going to call that one done. If you wanted to put, more reflections in there, you could, a reflection of this tree and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's looking very nice.
The course starts straight away. You need the material, the kind of materials that we use today. So I think you already know what kind of materials you need to be able to join this workshop. You've seen David in action. And we also have the question about if we're a beginner in watercolor, does this course work for them? What would you say, David?
That's a great question. If I was starting off in watercolor, I would love to take my classes because of the amount of information you're going to get, and getting a good foundation of learning how to work with all the techniques and the concepts I talked about. It's going to be a steep learning curve if you're new to watercolor, right? Because I'm sharing so much with you. But the fact that you get it for lifetime and it's recorded and you get it for a lifetime means that you can pause it, you can rewind, you can review it, to better retain the information. Again, these concepts and techniques are going to be challenging, but think of it as, are you there to complete a painting that you want to put in a wall, or are you there to learn techniques and concepts to help you grow as an artist? So that's what this is designed to do. Of course, I hope that your painting turns out fabulous and you want to hang it on the wall or give it to somebody as a gift. That would be great. But it does take practice. You need to put some mileage on the brush. So keep the mindset. This is a growth mindset, that it does get easier with practice, with time. And that's why it's great that they give it for lifetime, to retain and practice these techniques and concepts. It takes a little practice.
Wonderful. So for those of you who doesn't want this to end after the Q&A session, just join the course by clicking the join the course button and get this course with this art instructor with 25 years of experience, and learn all of these essential basic techniques and also the wealth of knowledge. This is really a course for all levels, according to my interpretation of this and of your teaching. And with that said, it's time to answer some of the questions that have popped up throughout the workshop. And we have some, if you have questions that are pressing and you really want them to get answered, make sure to write them in the chat now as well, so we don't miss them. And let's start with the last question, which was, what do you use for your darks? Was that a black, was that indigo, or was that something else? Can you use Payne's gray for that, or can you mix? What are your thoughts on the darkest?
Sure. Yeah, for your darks, again, you can use any color you want if it can get the value that you're after. The dark that I was using towards the end was mostly indigo with some phthalo blue. I used to use Payne's gray. That's fine too. So it's really up to the artist. There's other artists who use other darks. I just, my personal preference is the indigo and phthalo blue, but you could use another one.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. We also had a question from Petya. How do you make the color creamy? How do we find that mixture?
Good. So in the course, we're going to talk a lot about different consistencies of the paint, tea consistency. Again, I'm using some terminology that I heard Herman Pickel and Joseph Spufik use, but basically very transparent, very fluid pigment, or more pigment into your brush, which would be more of a milky, or really thick pigment, which is the creamy, or even straight out of the tube, which is kind of like a paste or a butter consistency. So to get the creamy consistency, the first trick is you can't work with old hard rock fossilized nuggets of paint. All right. So if you haven't painted in a while and your palette has pigment on there that's just hard as a rock because you haven't used it for years, you're only going to be able to get very transparent tea and coffee consistency pigment with that. So you're going to need to squirt out some fresh pigment in order to get the creamy, strong, vibrant colors that I'm getting.
And now to the question that we have gotten several times during the session. So Neda, let's ask the question. How did your paper keep flat? What did you do to keep the paper flat? Why was your paper flat? Why wasn't it buckling?
It has a very slight, I just looked at it, it has a very slight buckle to it. I didn't do anything special. Sometimes, again, I work at a variety of approaches. Sometimes I'll take a painting and I'll submerge it into a tub of water so it's totally wet front and back. And then it'll be like working on stretched paper. And sometimes instead of wetting the front and back, sometimes I'll just wet the back of the paper. And today you saw, I never wet the back of it. I just worked on the surface. So I work with a variety of techniques and approaches. if it buckles a little bit, I'm not worried about it. There's some, I can share it as far as when I'm done with the picture. If it's really buckled, I want to get it perfectly flat in order to sell the painting. What I'll do is when it's completely dry is I'll flip it on to some nice clean denim, and I'll actually iron the back of the picture, and then I'll put it on a clean sheet and I'll stack some heavy books on it for a night, and then it'll be perfectly flat. Anyways, there's other things you can do as well, but you can stretch your paper. There's different techniques to keep your paper flat if that's an issue, but yeah, it wasn't an issue for me. It was a little bit curved, but it wasn't too bad.
Let me take a look in the chat if there are any more questions that have popped up. I don't see any question marks other than Dinah asking, wonderful, can we see the painting again?
Oh,
So can you
sure,
hold it up?
yeah. Yeah, let me pull it up here. All right, so I should put a mat on it. That'll help clean it up too. I've got some mats, but I'll just hold it up. Whoop. So anyways, that's the painting right now. And again, I'm not done with it, but that gives you a pretty good idea. Can you all see it?
Yeah, thanks. That was perfect.
Okay. It's still very wet, and again, lots that I need to do as far as little details if I wanted to complete it and putting the highlights on the figure and stuff, but it's got a very good start. You've seen the big important steps to it.
Great. We have a technical question from, or a watercolor technical question from Susan. Do you wash your brush in between choosing a new color? So when you choose a new color, do you always clean your brush?
No, I don't. Sometimes if it's like a very transparent, warm color, like my Quinn Gold, I won't. Sometimes I won't clean it, and I'll just run right into my next color because the Quinn Gold is not that, especially if it's really transparent. It depends on how thick it is, and also if my next color that I want to put on the paper happens to be a green and I have some Quinn Gold already on my brush, well then, it's kind of like multi-loading the brush when I did Asian brush painting. I'll just keep the Quinn Gold on there, I'll pick up some blue, and I'll just let the colors integrate on the paper. So it depends.
That's such a very good comment, because like if we're going from black to yellow, then yes. If we're going from yellow to black, then
Yeah.
Wonderful. And then Sue, thanks for asking your question again. Regarding the bead, does the quality of the paper affect how well drawing the bead across the paper works?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, like as far as as far as the brands of paper, I'm not sure. I haven't worked with every brand of paper, but as far as the quality of paper, as far as the moisture content in the paper, of course, if the paper is not dry, you're not going to be able to keep a bead, right? If you've pre-wet an area and you have the bead and you're working that puddle across and it hits a wet area, boom, you lose your bead, right? The bead's is going to integrate. Water is going to follow water. Greater moisture follows less moisture, and you're going to lose the bead. And also, I should also make sure to note that in order to have the bead, in order to have the puddle, you have to have your board tilted. If you have your board flat, you don't have any bead. You got to have the board slightly at an angle in order to create that bead.
To have that little piece of droplet that you can work with so that it kind of gathers in one space. So you know where to guide it.
Yeah, if you flatten your board, Mr. Bead he dies. You killed Mr. Bead. You got to get the board a little bit of an angle.
Wonderful. Get different kinds of textures. I think we're gonna jump to the next one.
What was the next question?
It was why you prefer rough paper.
Oh yeah, sometimes I like a smoother paper if I want like a lot of details. Like if I'm doing a portrait, I do a variety of subjects. I paint still lifes, portraits, florals, landscapes, cityscapes, seascapes. If I'm painting a portrait, I typically want a smoother paper and get nice intermingling of color, and I don't want any dry brush on a portrait, things like that. So I use the rough usually when I'm doing something that's a faster painting and I want the texture and I want these organic shapes. Like it's more suitable for like a landscape subject.